The stars outside looked cold, silent, dead, just like Earth. Captain Zarek Orion stood on the darkened bridge of the Vanguard, hands behind his back, eyes fixed on the slow swirl of a dying red star in the distance. It pulsed like a fading heartbeat. This was the edge of the Orion Arm. Empty space. No life. No signals. Just the quiet graveyard of what once was. Vanguard was the last warship built by humans. Once part of Earth's proud defense fleet, it now drifted in hiding, alone. The ship was old, scared from battles, but still powerful. Inside it, a small crew clung to survival. Zarek looked tired, not from sleep, but from years of war, of running, of losing. "Captain," came a voice from behind. It was Lieutenant Race, the ship's communications officer, young, sharp, and one of the few left from the original crew. "We picked up a signal," Race said. "Encrypted. Zarkith frequency." Zarek turned slowly. "Play it." A static-filled message crackled through the ship's speakers. A deep alien voice spoke in their harsh, guttural language. The translation system kicked in. Phase 3 of the Omega Protocol begins. Superweapon core arriving at Site 0. Completion. 10 standard cycles. The bridge went quiet. A superweapon. Zarkith had already crushed Earth, wiped out the colonies, and hunted the survivors like rats. What more could they possibly need? Zarek's jaw tightened. Location. Res pulled up a star map, near the gravity well of HD 477. That's deep Dominion space. Zarek nodded slowly. That region was suicide to enter. But if the Zarkith finished this weapon, there wouldn't be any humans left to save. Commander Vaya, Zarek's second-in-command, entered the bridge. Her face was sharp, alert. "We intercept something bad." Zarek turned to her. "Worse. They're building something that can wipe out everything. Final nail in the coffin." She narrowed her eyes. "Then we hit them first." Zarek said nothing for a moment. He stared at the flickering light of the dying star outside. No backup. No allies. One ship. Against the Dominion. "We've done more with less," Vaya said. He almost smiled. Almost. Zarek turned to the rest of the crew. "Prep for deep space movement," he said. "We move at 600. Silent drive only. I want that site located, scanned, and a strike plan ready in 3 cycles." Rise hesitated. "Captain, if we go, we might not come back." Zarek looked him straight in the eyes. "If they finish that weapon," he said calmly, "we're already dead." He stepped off the command platform, coat trailing behind him. In the silence that followed, only the hum of the ship remained. The cold dark of space wrapped around Vanguard like a blanket of silence. Engines hummed softly as the ship glided through the void. No lights, no transmissions, total stealth. Captain Zarek Orion stood beside the navigation console. His eyes scanned the star map projected in front of him. The destination was clear. Sector HD 477. Deep inside Zarkith-controlled space. The same sector where the enemy's new superweapon was being built. Estimated time to jump point? Zarek asked. 20 minutes, said Lieutenant Kale, the pilot. His hands moved smoothly over the controls. "We'll enter the sector through a decaying wormhole. Risky, but it'll hide our arrival." Zarek nodded. "Do it." Behind him, Commander Vaya and the team suited up. The recon team was small. 4 members, including Zarek himself. The plan was simple. Slip into an outpost near the weapon site, steal whatever data they could, and get out. The wormhole opened like a rip in the fabric of space. Blue light twisted in spirals, crackling with unstable energy. "Here goes nothing," Kale muttered as Vanguard entered. The ship rattled as it passed through the wormhole. Lights flickered. Alarms beeped once, then went silent. When they emerged, the screen filled with a terrifying sight. Zarkith territory. Giant warships floated in orbit around a blackened moon. Patrol drones moved in perfect patterns. Far in the distance, a massive ring-shaped station could be seen half-built. It glowed with pulsing red energy. "There it is," Zarek whispered. "Site 0. They stayed cloaked, watching. The superweapon was real. It was bigger than anything humans had ever built. "Prepare, recon team," Zarek said. "We'll hit that listening outpost on the dark side of the moon. Get in, get the data, and get out before they even know we're here." 12 minutes later, the team landed silently on the moon. Their suits were jet black, designed for zero light. No talking, only hand signals. They moved fast and low toward the enemy outpost. The Zarkith building looked sharp and insect-like. Spires jutted into the air. A single guard drone floated by. Zarek raised his hand, then made the signal. "Now." Vaya took the shot. The drone dropped without a sound. They entered the structure through a maintenance hatch. Inside, the walls were dark metal, pulsing faintly with alien energy. Zarek moved to the terminal. Riss plugged in the data spike and began downloading files. 2 minutes, he whispered. But nothing ever went smoothly. Alarms blared. A red light filled the room. "We're spotted," Vaya said, drawing her weapon. Heavy footsteps echoed in the hall. Zarek stepped forward. "Rice, pull what you can. Vaya, cover the door." Zarkith soldiers poured in, tall, armored, with glowing blue eyes. A firefight erupted. Blaster bolts lit the room. Riss yelled, "Got the files." "Fall back," Zarek ordered. They sprinted through the hatch, firing as they ran. One of the team was hit. Corwin, the weapons tech. He didn't get up. Zarek stopped, but Vaya grabbed his arm. "We have to go." With heavy hearts, they launched back toward Vanguard. The ship picked them up mid-jump, doors slamming shut as enemy fire chased them into the stars. Back on the bridge, Zarek stared at the downloaded data. "What did we get?" he asked. Riz looked pale. "The core of the superweapon. It's called the World Eater. Once activated, it can vaporize entire systems. One shot, and it's over." Zarek said nothing for a moment. Then he looked at his crew. "We can't run from this." Vaya stepped forward. "What's the plan?" Zarek's eyes narrowed. "We go deeper." Far across the galaxy, deep inside the Zarkith Dominion, a massive warship floated in silence. It was black as the void, shaped like a blade, and almost as deadly. Inside, the air was cold, the walls pulsing with a faint blue glow. At the center of it all stood Overlord Karex. He was tall, armored in a metallic exosuit that seemed to move with him like a second skin. His eyes glowed ice blue, fixed on the holographic display in front of him. The display showed security footage from the outpost on the blackened moon. Blurry images of 4 human intruders, one of them wearing a long black coat. Karex's voice was low and calm. "Pause," he said. The image froze on the face of Captain Zarek Oran. Karex leaned forward. "So, the ghost lives." A Zarkith officer entered the room and knelt. "Overlord, we lost contact with Outpost 9. The human ship vanished into the wormhole belt, but the infiltrators stole core-level files." Karex did not shout. He didn't move. "They know about the World Eater," he said softly. "Send the Black Talon fleet. Find Vanguard. Destroy it." "Yes, Overlord." Karex turned away. He looked out through the warship's glass wall, staring at the half-finished weapon ring orbiting the dead star. "It does not matter," he said. "Let them come. Let them fight. When the weapon is complete, there will be no one left to remember their names." Back aboard Vanguard, the mood was tense. The mission had been a success, but the cost was real. Corwin was gone. The crew was shaken. Zarek sat alone in his quarters. His coat hung over the chair. A dim light glowed above his desk, where the stolen files blinked on the screen. He didn't look at them right away. Instead, he picked up an old photo. It showed a smiling woman and 2 children, his family. His past, Earth, all gone. He closed his eyes. There were no more tears, only fire. In the command room, Commander Vaya walked in. "We've analyzed the files," she said. "The weapons core is still being charged. It won't be ready for 5 more days. That's our window." Zarek nodded. "And the defenses?" "Massive. The construction ring is protected by 3 capital ships, dozens of cruisers, and planetary defense turrets. If we go in, we're going into a death trap." Zarek stood. "We don't have a choice." She didn't argue. She knew he was right. He walked with her to the ship's main deck. The stars stretched out in every direction. Somewhere out there, the Zarkith were building their final weapon. And somewhere out there, they were looking for Vanguard. Zarek turned to his crew, who were now gathered around. "I won't lie to you," he said. "This mission may kill us all. But if we stay hidden, the Zarkith win. The last lights of humanity will go out. That cannot happen." Silence filled the room. "We are the last warship," he said. "And we will fight like it." A quiet strength passed through the crew. Heads nodded. Eyes sharpened. Vaya stepped beside him. "What's the plan?" Zarek stared into the stars, voice steady and cold. "They'll see a ghost ship." He turned away. "Let's make it real." Vanguard floated through a silent field of wreckage. Broken satellites, twisted metal, and shattered ships. This was the remains of Outpost Echo, an old human military base lost early in the war. No one had returned here since the Zarkith destroyed it. Now, Captain Zarek Orion was back. He stood on the bridge as the ship slowly moved through the debris. Giant hunks of steel drifted past the windows. Some still bore the faded flags of Earth. "This place gives me chills," Lieutenant Race whispered. "Good," Zarek said. "Means it's still dangerous. Let's get to work." 1 hour later, Zarek led a salvage team into the outpost's wrecked hangar. It was quiet inside. No power, no life. But there was still value here. The crew moved through the corridors, their boots crunching on broken glass and ash. The walls were scorched. In some places, black marks showed where people had once fought and died. They found what they were looking for in the old weapons bay. "Here," said Vaya, pointing to a sealed crate. "Experimental rail cores. We can power the main cannon with these." Zarek nodded. "And this?" he asked, kicking a half-covered machine. "Old stealth generator," said Rice. "Outdated, but with a few fixes, we could cloak the entire ship for at least 5 minutes." "That's all we'll need," Zarek replied. They worked for hours, dragging parts back to Vanguard, loading up everything they could use. Back on the ship, the crew went to work. The engineering deck buzzed with activity. Sparks flew as cables were rerouted, weapons recharged, and armor plates welded. Zarek helped where he could. He wasn't the kind of captain who stood back and gave orders. He lifted crates, held tools, and kept morale high. In the quiet moments, he spoke to his crew. He sat beside Kale, the pilot, over a cup of strong black coffee. "You ever think about Earth?" Zarek asked. Kale looked down. "Sometimes. My sister had a little farm. I never even said goodbye." Zarek didn't answer. He didn't need to. Later that night, Zarek stood alone in the ship's small chapel room. There were no lights inside, just a single panel showing the stars. He recorded a message. "If you're hearing this, it means Vanguard is gone. It means we fought, and maybe we gave others a chance to rise." He paused. "My name is Captain Zarek Orion. I was born on Earth. I saw it burn. But I did not let that be the end." Another pause. "We are not ghosts. We are warriors, and we do not go quietly." He ended the recording and sent it into the ship's memory bank, locked under his command code. The final day before battle arrived. The crew gathered in the war room. The star map showed the super weapons construction ring in red. Vanguard was marked as a single blue dot. Riz looked around. We're really doing this. Zarek stood tall. Yes. He tapped the screen. We're going to drop out of warp just outside the defense perimeter, cloak the ship, drift in close, and hit them with everything we've got. The rail cannon, missiles, drone pods, everything. Vaya added, then we board the ring, destroy the weapon's core, and get out. If we're lucky, Kale muttered. Zarek looked at each one of them. We're not doing this because we expect to live. We're doing this so others can. He stepped back and nodded. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we fly. In the quiet of the ship, each crew member found their own way to prepare. Some prayed. Some listened to old Earth music. Some just sat and stared at nothing. Zarek returned to the bridge alone. Outside, the stars still shined. He placed one hand on the glass. One last mission, he said to himself. Let's make it count. The stars stretched out in all directions, calm, silent, waiting. But Vanguard was not silent anymore. The ship moved through space like a ghost, cloaked by old tech, held together by hope and steel. Its crew was ready. Weapons charged, engines primed. No more hiding. Captain Zarek Orion stood on the bridge in full gear. His black coat was sealed, and his helmet rested under one arm. His voice was steady. We dropped cloak in 60 seconds. The crew moved quickly, eyes focused. No one spoke unless they had to. They all knew what was coming. Ahead, the enemy waited. The Zarkith superweapon was almost complete. A massive ring of metal floated in orbit around a dead star. Glowing red lines pulsed across its surface like veins. 3 warships patrolled the area. Dozens of fighter drones flew in tight formations. And in the center of it all, the heart of the weapon. Riz looked up from his console. We're in range. They haven't seen us yet. Good, Zarek said. Fire everything. In one instant, Vanguard uncloaked. In the next, chaos began. The rail cannon fired, slicing through space like a lightning bolt. It hit one of the Zarkith cruisers dead center, splitting it in two. The explosion lit the darkness. Missiles launched. Drones shot forward. Lasers flared. Zarkith forces reacted fast. Fighters swarmed toward Vanguard like hornets. The ship rocked as enemy fire slammed into its hull. Shields down to 70%. Someone shouted, "Keep firing." Zarek yelled. Kale spun the ship hard to avoid a missile barrage. The old warship groaned but held together. A second cruiser closed in from the right. Target locked, Vaya said, firing main cannon. Another blast. Another enemy ship torn apart. But the third cruiser was tougher. It unleashed a wave of energy that cut through Vanguard's shields. Sparks flew across the bridge. Engines are overheating. Ray shouted. We're going in, Zarek said. Prep boarding team. The cruiser wasn't their main target. The weapon was. As the drones distracted the enemy ships, Vanguard shot toward the giant ring. Zarek led the boarding team. Vaya, Ray's, and 2 others. They launched in a drop pod, crashing onto the surface of the weapon station. The metal beneath them was hot, pulsing with power. The team moved fast, weapons drawn. They blasted open a hatch and slipped inside. The corridors were strange. Alien metal, glowing rooms, and flickering lights. The weapon was alive, in a way. Head for the core, Zarek ordered. They ran through narrow halls, dodging fire from Zarkith guards. Ray's was hit in the shoulder but kept moving. Vaya covered their backs, her rifle never stopping. Finally, they reached the control chamber. It was massive. A sphere of red energy floated above a glowing platform. The World Eater's core. We plant charges on each stabilizer, Zarek said. Fast. They worked quickly, setting explosives on the power nodes around the room. But then a voice echoed behind them. So predictable, said Overlord Karex. He stood in the doorway, tall and calm, blade in hand. Zarek stepped forward. I figured you'd show up. Karex tilted his head. You came all this way to fail. Zarek raised his weapon. We'll see. They clashed. Zarek and Karex fought hand to hand, blades flashing, fists striking, feet slamming into metal. Sparks flew. The room shook as the energy core pulsed brighter. Zarek took a hit to the side, grunted, but kept going. He knocked Karex back with a hard punch, then drove his blade into the alien's chest. Karex staggered, growling, his armor cracked. This changes nothing, Karex said, voice breaking. Zarek looked him in the eye. It changes everything. He hit the detonator. The team sprinted out as alarms blared. Red lights flashed. Explosions ripped through the station. Zarek and the team jumped onto a nearby escape pod, just as the core erupted behind them. The World Eater cracked open. A chain reaction tore through the ring. One by one, the pieces exploded into flame and light. From the bridge of Vanguard, Kale saw it happen. She did it, he whispered. He did it. The explosion shook the stars. And then there was silence. Silence filled the stars once more. Where the Zarkith superweapon had been, there was now only dust and fire. Broken metal drifted across the dark, like floating graves. The explosion had ended everything. The weapon, the guards, the warships. And almost. Vanguard. Inside a half-burned escape pod, Captain Zarek Orion opened his eyes. Red lights blinked. Smoke filled the air. Pain shot through his ribs. But he was alive. Across from him, Commander Vaya stirred. We made it, she asked, her voice dry. Zarek nodded slowly. Barely. They pulled Rise from under a metal panel. He was unconscious but breathing. The other two crew members hadn't survived. Zarek looked through the cracked window of the pod. The World Eater was gone. They had done it. Back on Vanguard, Kale circled the debris field again and again. Still no signal, he said, hands tight on the controls. Come on, Zarek. Where are you? Then, a beep. Faint, but clear. Life sign detected, said the ship's eye. Kale smiled. Got you. The crew pulled the pod in with tractor beams. Zarek, Vaya, and Rice were rushed to the medbay. No celebration. No cheers. Just quiet relief. Later, Zarek stood on the bridge, bruised and tired. The crew watched him silently. He looked around at each one of them. The weapon is gone, but the war isn't over. No one spoke, but they didn't need to. Their eyes said everything. They were ready to keep fighting. 2 weeks later, on a distant colony moon, people huddled around a small radio transmitter. Survivors, refugees, fighters. They had been hiding for months. Then, the signal came. A voice. This is Captain Zarek Orion of the Warship Vanguard. The Zarkith superweapon has been destroyed. If you're hearing this, you are not alone. We fight on. The people looked at each other, stunned. Hope. Real, living hope. A little boy whispered, he's alive. In a hidden human base, deep underground, a woman stared at a glowing screen. She was a leader of a resistance cell. She had lost everything. Family, friends, comrades. Now she smiled. Orion lit the match, she said. Time to burn the rest of them. Back on Vanguard, Zarek stood at the front of the bridge, looking out into space. His coat was torn, his face scarred, but his eyes were steady. Vaya stepped beside him. What now? Zarek didn't turn. We send the signal. We gather every survivor. We fight back. Vaya smiled faintly. You really believe we can win? He finally looked at her. We just showed the galaxy that one ship can make a difference. Imagine what 100 could do. Outside, the stars no longer looked cold. They looked alive. One warship, one crew, one spark. Enough to start a fire the Zarkith would never forget.